Drop it. Yeah.
Welcome to another Palworld video. My name is Tenelin and I'm here to help you learn how to get to the endgame farming stage of Palworld's bosses. This is on base damage settings on a single player world, and it is possible for anybody to do. It does require a significant amount of investment, but seems to be the best way to deal massive amounts of damage to be able to farm any boss in the game. I fully invested into this strategy to test out the limitations of weapon-based damage, but you could easily modify this method to work for you. I'm going to give you the strategy and steps that I took, but if you would like to see how the damage is calculated and have a more reasonable build, I'll show them towards the end of the video. Let's get into it. First is the obvious thing. For this build, you will need the legendary rocket launcher. I'm sure you'll be able to do a variation with either the shotgun or the assault rifle, but I haven't actually gotten them as drops, so I haven't been able to try them out. I do not recommend this video for a new character. I leveled up to level 50 casually as I played through the game, and then used a memory wiping medicine to reset my stats and put every single point of my level up into attack to max it out to a base of 198. So, what else will you need? You're going to need 4 Gobfins, all of them with Angry Shark level 5, which will give you, while in party, increases player attack power, and this scales up to plus 20%. And then you'll want each of them to have Vanguard, which gives an additional plus 10%. As you can see, I have 4 of them here, as well as a mount that we will talk about later, but this one also has Vanguard. Now, you are going to need 464 fodder Gobfins to do this, so this is how I recommend that you get them. I turned my pal's spawn rate up to 3x in my settings, which means that every default spawn gives me 3 instead. I went to the Gobfin turf waypoint and started using the homing spear launcher and the yellow spheres and shot them wildly as I went. The Gobfins will fight each other a little bit, lowering their HP and making it easier to catch them, but with the latest patch fixing the effigy catch rate, this was actually pretty easy to do. It only took me about an hour or 2 to get all of them that I needed. This also helps with being able to get 4 with Vanguard. I actually just caught 4 wild with Vanguard on them, so I didn't have to do any breeding for them. Next, you're going to need your attack accessories. The attack pendant plus 2 is the best one that you can get, but as you can see, I only have a standard one and the plus 2. The plus 2 gives you a plus 15% attack bonus, and the standard gives you the plus 5 bonus, so it is a pretty good little boost. In order to farm these out, I would recommend going to the northwest section of the map in the snowy mountains. After I got my first one pretty early, I had absolutely no luck getting the second one, and I got pretty tired of running these. If you do want to get the absolute maximum damage, I would recommend continuing to try to go for these or just getting luckier than I did, but because it was such a small number in the grand scheme of things, I gave up on this one. One pointer that I would give you on running these, if you ever see a hallway like this that diverts into a second one and this one is underwater pathed, this will always lead you to the boss room. The next thing you'll need is the food that gives you the plus 20% attack increase. The Deer Loco Moco or the Mazzarina Burger are the 2 that are available. As you can see, when I eat it, my attack is going to go up an additional 20%. And then you'll see the most important part of the build when I get on my mount here. My attack will also increase an additional plus 100% when riding. That is because certain mounts apply a certain damage conversion, and what they don't say is that they give an additional plus 100% attack, scaling from 50% at level 1 to 100% at level 5 of the PAL skill. This is a significant boost, nearly half of our damage. Now, there are only certain pals that give the damage buff on these skills, and as you can see, only certain elements have the conversion. The good news is that all of these pals have the additional damage scaling, allowing you to choose a few options on each element. It is important to note that the attack boost from these mounts does get applied no matter what, as long as you're riding them. This means that no matter what, any of these pals are good to use to increase the damage of your weapons while riding them, but they will also convert your damage to a certain element and give you an additional damage boost if you're using them against effective targets. That means that if you want to take the easiest method to increase your weapon damage, you just want to grab any of these mounts and upgrade their pal skill to level 5. Now, something that I figured out later into my tests for this video is that Frostallion actually does have this conversion and scaling as well. There has been some confusion among the community whether or not this actually works, so I went ahead and tested it out myself and found that it did. As you can see here, when I was using Frostallion at 1 star, I was only doing about 6,000 to 8,000 damage, and it wasn't actually enough to be able to one-shot Jetragon. And as you can see here, you do significantly more damage once you 5-star Frostallion, and it actually allowed me to one-shot Jetragon, something that I didn't think was actually possible when I was first theorizing this video. So I did put together this sheet that does calculate the theoretical maximum amount of damage that you would be able to do to the legendary pals. This assumes that you have a base attack of 198, which is the maximum you can get. It has the 4 Gobfin buffs, which gives you 80% additional attack, the 5 Vanguards for 50%, 2 of the maximum accessories that give you attack level up 3 for 30%, and a 100% elemental buff from the level 5 stars. The calculation is pretty simple. You'll take your 855, which is the theoretical maximum amount of attack that you'll be able to get. You'll take your weapon power of the 14,000 from the legendary rocket launcher. You'll take the defense of the PAL itself, and then all of the alpha PALs have a 95% damage reduction. One of the things I also don't mention is that when a PAL is sleeping, you will always get the guaranteed headshot because they're not moving. You can walk right up to them. So that gives you a 1.5x multiplier to your damage, as well as using the correct elemental type gives you a 1.5x multiplier. The damage seems to vary at a plus or minus 10%, so we use that in the calculation here. So for example, a Jetragon using ice attacks against it has a base attack damage of 5,440, but if you get a headshot, it'll do 8,161, and elemental can do 12,242 damage. Using the 10% plus or minus, your damage range is between 11,000 and 13,500. That does mean that Jetragon, Paladius, and Necromus are technically one-shottable, but the only one that is not appears to be Frostallion, because 12,344 is the absolute maximum damage that you can do from this. And I've only seen a couple of Frostallions spawn with around that much HP, so you would have to get a spawn that has the lowest amount of HP and get the variance of the maximum hit in order to actually one-shot it. Now, something to keep in mind that these calculations really only work for legendary pals if you are level 50. If you are not level 50, they will get an additional 20% damage reduction, it looks like, per level that you are under leveled. It's somewhere around there. I'm seeing a lot of different reports, one way or the other, if it's 10% or 20%. I'm not entirely certain, so I just stuck to these as a basis for the calculation. If you are looking to do a more reasonable build, this is what I would do. You can stick with just base level 100 attack, as long as you're using the 4 Gobfins, 5 pals with Vanguard, and the elemental mount bonus, you'll still get to 396 attack with food, and that still allows you to do a hit of 5,000 to 6,000 on Jetragon, 3,000 to 4,000 on Paladius, 4,000 to 5,000 on Frostallion, and 4,000 to 5,000 on Necromus, and that's still a significant amount of damage. Even if you were to add just 5 levels into attack, that would boost it up to 435, which does still give you a decent amount of damage boost, but overall, the core part of the strength of this build is just having these Gobfins, the Vanguard, and the elemental bonus. I take off the accessories for this because for the most part, you're going to want your accessories so that you have heat and cold resistance, and that's very important for most travel in the game. The accessories do give a 30% buff if you have the strongest ones, which is not too bad, but it's not the most significant buff that you can get. Overall, I think I had a lot of fun with this build and maximum attack, but as soon as I'm done with this video, I will be resetting to put some weight back onto my character, because being able to kill a boss in one shot doesn't help the fact that the loot is generally heavier than what I can carry. Thanks for watching the video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making this video and going around one-shotting all the pals in Palworld. I'm really excited to see how this game continues and develops outside of early access, and I'm going to continue making videos in the future.